Good evening. It is Wednesday, April 14th, 2021, and coming to you live from the Lonely Tree Media Studios in Yakima, Washington, this is the Best Lamm Sports Show. I am your host, David Lamm. With me is my son, Parker. Say hello, Parker.
What's cracking?
I'm not sure the crowd was expecting what's cracking, but that's
They were not.
They were not. They were not. I should have had one of those. Ooh. Anyway,
What's really fun though is that in NHL 21 or 20, the video game, Snoop Dogg does guest appearances, and they say, "Coming up next in the booth, Snoop Dogg," and he goes, "What's happening?" And it's always the funniest thing.
We are live streaming on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. You can send us an email, lammsports@gmail.com, and please check out our webpage, www.lammsports.com. You can find links to the past shows and the current trivia question on there. The first segment of the show, as always, is brought to you by The Range in Yakima. The Range is, did that not come up the way I want? See, technical difficulty number one. The Range is Central Washington's premier indoor shooting facility at 34,000 square feet. The Range is an all-inclusive facility offering firearm training, retail firearm sales and supplies, full gunsmithing and repairs, custom builds, and Cerakote services, all under one roof. Open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 7, Sunday 11 to 5. Go see our friends at The Range, 1701 Garrettson Lane in Yakima. Phone number is 509-571-1449. Make sure you mention the Best Lamm Sports Show. The Range, educate, equip, and empower. So I absolutely feel like I've lost my way here already. I feel like that things are just not out of order because I had to switch them from one thing. So I apologize for last week and the audio difficulties. We're trying out a new audio mixer. Clearly didn't work the way we had planned, but we disconnected it. We're going back to the old way for this week, and I feel like everything's out of whack now because I went to one way and now I'm gone back to a different way, and I'm adjusting on the fly. So,
a little bit of adjustments are perfectly fine.
Our budget is not such that we can just plug and play stuff. So,
it's shoestring for sure.
Right, and don't anybody get upset about the current image on the screen. You got to read the bottom. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about pay equality. The whole Megan Rapinoe, Draymond Green kerfuffle. It's not even that, really.
It's a dialogue. It's because it's not even contentious, really.
Really, I think she made more of it than he did. I mean, but we'll talk about it later. We're going to talk about the NBA, MLB, NHL. Got a trivia question. We've got a brand new segment called You Make the Call, which I think you're going to like, and a lot more. You ready?
Yeah.
I don't know if I am, but we're going to try. So right off the top, let's talk about the Masters. Hideki Matsuyama is your 2021 Masters champion. Matsuyama shot a 1-over-par 73 on Sunday to hold on and win by one stroke over Will Zalatoris and 3 shots over third place Jordan Spieth. Matsuyama is the first golfer from Japan to win the Masters, and a few years ago he was PGA Tour Rookie of the Year. So he's up and coming. He's
pretty good.
He could be that guy. He looked on fire through the third round and in the final round, and then he kind of put it on cruise control because he had like a 6-shot lead, and then kind of,
it went away.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful at the Masters. Sunday will get you.
He coasted down the stretch. He did. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he made a bogey on the final hole, but he only needed to double bogey to tie. To you know what I mean? So he just, he did what he had to do, and he won by one stroke. Anyway, it was fun. Watching the Masters was fun. I like it in April better because the course is harder.
I like it. Well, so that's what they were saying, is that everyone was doing terribly on the first day.
Yeah.
And I love that. I don't like watching golfers just consistently hit par. I want to see some damn bogeys. Let's make it a little more difficult. Let's have the hole be moving the whole time. These guys are really talented at playing a course that just sits still, but I'd love to see them in a putt-putt.
Yeah, right? That wouldn't see. They should have that as like
the Masters putt challenge. It's
like a
on like the Thursday before or the Wednesday before.
like a separate. Well, they have a par 3 tournament on Wednesday.
No one cares about that.
I know, and I've seen it before, and
There's no clowns in a par 3 tournament.
You're right. You can't hit the clown in the nose or the mouth, or there's no windmills. Right?
Right.
I feel like that putt is a great idea, and I think they should do that at the end of the season. They should take the top 16 money winners and put them into a putt challenge on a miniature golf course somewhere. And and we keep calling it putt because that's what they used to be. It used to be putt golf courses. I don't even know if they have those anymore. I've never seen one. I haven't seen one in I don't know how long. Anyway, moving on. Because
speaking of Will Zolotaric, did you see what Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler said to him?
Yeah,
he called him out for looking like his caddy from the Happy Gilmore movie.
He's got it on his pitching wedge. I didn't put that picture on here, but on his pitching wedge it says, "I'm your caddy, I'm your caddy, Mr. Gilmore," and I love that. I think that's fantastic. He does. He looks a lot like him, amongst other things. He was the victim of a lot of memes. Throughout last week.
He played it off really well, so he did a good job.
Oh yeah, I think, and he's
another. Got a hold of him, and he still came out the other side.
And he's another young golfer that's going to be really good. Just taking place of some of those guys that like the Tigers that can't play anymore because he's always hurt or in a car crash or on prescription medication or whatever.
Or Tiger,
or just whatever. All right, too much Masters.
All right.
Too much. We've gone too far. NBA standings. Current NBA standings are in front of you. The Sixers lead the East still over the Nets by a game.
Yeah, they just beat them the other day, but the Nets also sat Blake, Harden, and KD.
I don't understand that.
Why did you bring these guys in here just to let them sit?
And for a head-to-head game, that's a super important. I mean, sit them against the Wizards, yes, but not against the 76ers. Why would you do that?
Here's what I'll tell you though: whoever's in the 2 spot who has to play the Heat, who are currently sitting in the 7, that's not good. You don't want that. You would much rather play. The other team,
either the Knicks or the Hornets, who's around them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Hornets are just going to stay there today. But you would much rather play the Hornets than play the Heat because the Heat have 2 All-Stars on their team. The Hornets have none.
Yeah, so, the Heat are capable of beating you.
But you don't feel that way about the Hornets.
No, no one does. Unless
hey, the Knicks are in the playoff hunt, so let's throw back to the 90s all over again.
Unless one of those Ball brothers goes off in the.
Well, I mean, he's sitting for the year now. He's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. That's right. That's why they've lost three straight.
Always hurt.
They're going to fall out of the playoff spot here in a minute. They've lost 3 straight, and they're about to lose their 8th. They're holding the 8th and final playoff seed to the Indiana Pacers, probably. Anyway, that's your Eastern Conference. It's still, like we said, it's a 3-team race really, and I'm not sure about the Bucks. I watch them play, and I see, you know what I mean? Sometimes they look like they can beat Portland by 100, and sometimes they look like they're going to lose to Detroit by 100, and I don't understand how that happens, but it happens. Right. So they're inconsistent at best. Let's call it that.
That's fair.
And here's your Western Conference standings right at the moment. And Utah still has the best record in the NBA at 41-14. They had a little dip there, but they're still 7-3 in their last 10.
They've had a couple little dips, but they always still kind of come out about that way, about 7-3.
They're still managing to keep Phoenix at arm's length. It's only a game and a half now, but the Clippers are the hot team. They've won 7 straight. They're only 3 back, and that separates them. And then they got Denver, who's past the Lakers now because the Lakers are without their only 2 players. And then you got the Trailblazers in 6th, kind of isolated there, 2.5 behind the Lakers. They're only a game ahead of the Mavericks now because they've not played well in the last 10 games. And the Mavericks are doing better. I'm not going to say that they're streaking. They're okay. But I don't trust that Portland can beat Dallas in a series. Like if they had to play a series, Dallas might be better.
No. I don't believe in it.
Because I think Luka Doncic is good enough to carry that team if nobody else even shows up at times.
So we are watching the end of this Mavs game the other night. Watch Grayson Allen miss 2 free throws. And then I say to Cassie while we're watching the game, Luka Doncic is about to hit a 3 to win this game. And then he inbound the ball and he hits a 3 and wins the game. And I'm like, this script is getting really old. I'm getting tired of watching Luka hit game winners.
Not if you're a Dallas fan, I guess, but yeah.
For Dallas, you're about to get bounced out at most in the Western Conference Finals. You're still not that complete of a team.
And see, if you're Dallas right now, if the playoffs were to start today, you're going to end up with Phoenix. Ooh. That's not
a good matchup. They've got a lot of height and a lot of size on Dallas. and Phoenix is small and
I,
fast.
I'm just saying, if you're Dallas, your best option is to go back and get where Memphis is. Be 8th,
Yeah,
right?
get the 8 seed.
And
Yep.
and get Utah right off the bat. You know what you're getting in Utah. They got a couple of players that you got to stop, but I think you'd match up better, and I
Yeah.
think you'd have a better chance. I don't think you want to play Phoenix, and I'm not sure you want to play the Clippers. It depends on which Clippers team shows up.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. The Clippers, I mean, you think that they're a playoff team. They're built to be, both superstars and things like that. But I think you'd want the Jazz more than those other two,
Yeah, I exactly. That's kind of the way I feel. I don't know
despite the
about.
fact that the Jazz is destroying everyone this year.
I don't know. Yeah, I think the Jazz are just too good, and maybe in 7 game series you can't beat them. I don't know, but in one game, they're beatable. Clearly, it's just
Yeah,
you got to string 4 of those
yeah, and
to
two of
get
them at
through,
their place.
right? And you got to win on the road at least one, right? At
Yeah,
least one,
that's
and
that's gonna be really
it's
difficult.
hard. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's all. Subject to change. We're at 55, 54, 55, 57 games, somewhere in that ballpark. Depends on which team. So there's still 20 games left to play, 20
Yeah,
something, about a month, so a little over a month. I guess it's almost 2 months, huh?
I think the Blazers only have like there's 9 games in the month of April, and then I think they have 3 more this month or
Uh,
4 more this month. So I think
Blazers,
they only have like 15 games left.
the Blazers are at 54 games right now, and I thought we were playing 70
I mean, you could be
something.
right.
I don't know.
I could be.
I
I don't actually
because
know
they've
sports. I just pretend like I know
well,
it.
right. Well, there's 2 of us here that do that, and then but I think that they've extended the season. Usually, by the end of April, we're talking playoff basketball.
Blazers have 16 games left. They have
16
seven
games.
more this month and 9 more next month.
So it's 70 even.
70 even.
Okay.
Sounds like the game plan.
Okay.
Except for the fact that I think the Blazers had a game canceled earlier this season
Oh.
against the Grizzlies that they might be rescheduling towards the end of the season.
This is a lot of
Which
math. I
if
was
the
told
Blazers continued their trajectory, they'll be playing the Grizzlies to get in the playoffs.
I
Then
was told there would be
again,
no math.
that's not
Yeah,
true.
I mean, are they doing that again? Are we doing play-ins again? Isn't that?
No, one
Didn't they
year
say
only.
it? Oh, I thought they
One
were. I
year
thought they
only.
mentioned something about trying that again. But
No,
maybe
I
I'm
don't think anybody really liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it made it more competitive regular season games, but I think the bubble was an exception. I don't think you should try and recreate that again.
I don't either. I don't
Yeah.
like the idea of expanding the playoff field in any of the leagues, and that's just a whole nother. That's a comment on the NFL and some other things. But anyway, I don't like it. I mean, I think there's already too many playoff games just in general because the playoffs take as long as the regular season. It seems like because we got to play a game, we got to wait a day, and we got to play a game, and we got to wait a day and a travel day maybe, and then we play on this day. And I'm like, this takes too long to 7 game series. If it goes 7 games, takes 2 weeks to play. And that's way too long because there's 4 of those. Well, that's 8 weeks worth of extra season at the end.
Yeah.
That's just way too long.
Yeah, but they're not. I mean,
You guys are.
that's at the end of the day, it's more fun to watch. I think I definitely see every year a notch up in playoff basketball and the way players play. They definitely come out and are more competitive. And so
Sure.
I'll take a little bit of time if it means I get a higher quality basketball. I just don't want to watch 4-0 first round blowouts. I'm tired of that.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Maybe they need to restructure the playoffs a little bit and give like the top 2 teams a bye,
Yeah, maybe.
and then make the other guys play until there's 2 left, and then they play the top 2. You know what I mean? That kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I think it's a good idea.
8-3, or yeah, whatever. I don't know. That doesn't work out right. The math's wrong.
I know what you mean.
Don't
I know
listen
what
to
you
me.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we don't know what we're talking about. Let's talk about Major League Baseball for just a minute because that's what we do. And then why I have the National League up first, I don't know. Probably because I'm a Mets fan. But this is the current Major League Baseball standings in front of you. Mets are leading the East at 5-3, ahead of the Phillies. Cincinnati and Milwaukee tied atop the Central. It'll be either Cincinnati, Milwaukee, St. Louis, or Chicago. And Pittsburgh always does this. They start out and you're like, there's hope in Pittsburgh, and then there's no hope in Pittsburgh. Dodgers leading the West, probably the best team in baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers, 10-2.
Well, I mean, they bought that title, so yeah.
Well,
they should be.
Everybody buys a title now.
I mean, well, you have to now.
Tampa
Yeah,
Bay
you
did.
absolutely have to. But what I'm saying is, when you say a team's the best team in baseball, and it's because they paid a lot of money to be the best team in baseball.
Sure.
Well, you're damn right you should be.
It doesn't always translate to wins. We talked about that.
It doesn't, but but it's
It
still you
should.
should be.
It
The
should.
expectation is there. So when the Dodgers are at the top, you're like, cool, makes sense. And when they're not, you're like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Didn't
What's
have
up?
enough
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. Your $200 million salary didn't cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know. It just. I feel like the Dodgers have been good pretty much my entire lifetime. Right. Since I started watching baseball, let's say in the
Yeah.
'70s, the Dodgers have been good, and I can remember the very few times that they were not good, not at least mediocre, but there always seemed to be in contention in that division, and for the World Series. Anyway,
I know you weren't alive then, but were the Brooklyn Dodgers good?
yeah, Brooklyn Dodgers were good too.
Okay, so the Dodgers have been good forever,
Yeah,
and not only were they good forever, they went from a big market to a big market. They jumped markets, but they kept them being large.
yeah, and it
Dodgers know how to baseball.
right, and if New York had been smart, if the city of New York, the boroughs had been
Yeah,
smart, they'd have 4 baseball teams right
yeah, that's too much.
now.
That's
Yeah.
too much baseball.
Oh, but it'd be awesome.
That's so much traffic
Think
on a weekend.
but think about that. Think about that baseball lovers trip you could do. Like you could watch 4 different teams play, right?
Yeah, but you can already do a Northeast weekend and
Yeah,
get
sure.
Philly, Boston, and 2 New York teams in like a 5-day stretch.
Yeah,
Like you can already do that with train rides.
sure. And you can do that, but you could do that with 2 more teams, and it would be even more
I mean, you're not wrong. You can make it 6.
fun.
That's a
I,
big thing.
I mean, we could watch a game every night at a different ballpark in 6 different nights, right? And you'd have anyway, but they screwed that up in the '50s. So
Yeah.
there's your AL East leader. Boston has the best record in the American League at 9-4, and everybody else in the East kind of sucks at the moment. But it's early. There's only 12 games in, so we got plenty of time. Kansas City, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota are a mess in the Central. You can see that. It doesn't matter who you pick. They're all kind
It's
of
so
terrible.
early.
I know.
You don't know about any
And,
of these things.
and this is exactly what Seattle does every year too, by the way.
Starts
Right?
so hot.
Yeah, about 25 games in, they'll just plummet. Right? They'll be in first place,
Yeah.
and you'll go, "What happened?" All of a sudden, because now all of a sudden they go from first to last in about a month. Not saying it's going to happen, but you're Houston Astros are only 6-6, and I think the cheating's caught up to them now. They've lost
Gosh,
5
we all
straight.
hope so. They have a job posting on Teamwork Online, which is where they post all their jobs, for a batting coach.
The Astros need a batting coach.
I thought about it.
You
I
should
thought about
apply.
sending in an application saying, "Oh, I was previously a garbage man, so I'm uniquely qualified."
Okay, okay. And I'm going to share now so that I can share with everyone. I back in the. I'm trying to
It
remember
was in
what
the day, wasn't it?
I'm trying to remember. It was in the. It was in the 2000s. I applied to be the. I sent my resume and a letter to the New York Mets and told them I was available to coach the team. And
Did they
basically,
have a coach at the time when you did that?
no, they just fired their coach, and
They just fired him.
yeah,
Okay.
and so I knew there was an opening, right? I was like, and that's what I said, and I said, I know you got an opening. You just fired a guy you were paying about $4 million a year to be head coach. I said, I'll do
Yeah.
it. I'll do it for $100,000 a year plus expenses. Right?
Yeah.
It's going to be
On
great.
on a 1-year deal.
1 year deal. It's going to be great publicity. You can hype the crud out of it, right? This guy out of nowhere
You hired
comes. Yep.
Joe Schmo is
Joe
now
Schmo
coaching.
is now the coach. Why? Well, he can't do any worse than the guy last year who won 60 games. I mean, I can't. I literally told him I cannot be any worse than the last guy. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, I could throw any team out there, and we're still going to win 60 games. It's going to happen. But
It's true.
yeah. So I mean, anyway, I applied, and they literally sent me a letter back, a rejection letter that said your qualifications do not match our openings at this time.
Well, apparently neither did their current coach's qualifications.
And I said, well, what qualification do you need? Able to be fired in 2 years? I can do that in 1. Anyway,
I could do that in 1.
I can do it.
I could cut your time in half.
I mean, whatever. They could have hired me.
I could waste your time in half the time.
We would have 6 titles, 6 World Series titles by now.
That's probably what would have happened if they would have gone ahead and hired you.
Right? I know. Let's go to a new segment. Since we're in Major League Baseball, we're going to go to a new segment that we're going to call "You Make the Call." We've been talking about officials the last couple episodes. We've been talking about how bad they are and replays, and we're talking about all this stuff. This is the inaugural "You Make the Call," and I've got 2 clips to show you, and you can make the call on both of them. And they're both baseball, and it's let me set up the first one just briefly. In that this is Mets Marlins tied at 2, bottom of the ninth, bases loaded. Michael Conforto's at the plate for the Mets. A 1-2 pitch is coming from Anthony Bass of the Marlins. Are you ready to watch it?
Yep.
And this is Gary Cohen and Ron Darling on the call for SNY. Ready?
I'm excited. Yep.
1-2 coming. And the slider in there, strike 3. Conforto's hit on the pitch. It hit Conforto. He made no effort to get out of the way. It was a strike, but he didn't move. And Don Mattingly is going to come out and argue the call with the home plate umpire, Ron Kulpa.
So if you didn't see it, and we're watching closely, and I don't know if that's something we have to show the replay on. But this is the whole point, is you're going to make the call because the umpire only got to see it one time.
Right.
Okay.
We only get to see it one time.
And you got a better camera angle than he did.
Right. My camera angle is nice.
Yeah. So the call on the field by umpire Ron Kulpa is a hit by pitch.
Right.
Okay. Which if you watch the replay in slow motion, it does hit him on the elbow guard.
It hits him, yeah.
On the guard. It doesn't hit his body, but it hits the elbow guard, which is now part of your body.
We found out in that Oregon State Houston game that it touches any part of the jersey.
Yep.
It counts.
That's right. And so Conforto gets awarded first base, and it forces in Luis Guillorme from third, and a 1-run win in their home opener for the Mets over the Marlins. And Don Mattingly is one of the least. He is one of the best people at not getting super irate, but he's really, really pissed at this.
Yeah, I could have.
He came out hot, and still holds his temper. He's not one of those guys, but
he's not kicking dirt, covering up the home plate.
But they go and replay it. This goes to replay because they think that they can replay it. Well, if you're hit by a pitch, that's reviewable. Was the guy hit by the pitch? But there's no question he was hit by the pitch. The question becomes, where in the strike zone was the ball when he got hit by the pitch? Number 2, did he make an effort to get out of the way of said pitch?
Which you're supposed to do.
You're required to do.
Right.
Otherwise,
that's in the rules as well.
Otherwise, it's either just a ball or a strike, whatever the ball's going to be. So when you watch it, when I watched it the first time, you can't do that. That is clearly throwing your elbow out there. So at worst, it's either a ball if that ball's out of the strike zone, but I kind of felt it was a strike. And so I immediately go, oh, well, that's a strike. It's a 1-2 pitch. That's a strike. It's third strike. He's out.
Yeah.
Right? And we go to extra innings. Come to find out, stat tracker or whatever it is has the pitch location. It would have been a ball.
Ooh, really?
It was not over the plate, but it was not off the plate by much. It was barely off the plate. So it would have been a ball. So it would have been 2-2, and it would have gone right back to another pitch. So there's no telling that it wouldn't have, that wouldn't have happened anyway. Let's just preface all of this by saying the Marlins had a 2-1 lead entering the ninth inning. The relief pitcher comes in, gives up a solo homer, ties the game at 2, and then loads the bases and then hits a guy. So they probably deserve to lose the game. But
so what's the penalty if you're caught, dipping your arm out? If you're caught leaning into something, getting into the strike zone?
You can actually be called out.
Okay, so kind of what we're thinking here, what would have happened is either the ref sees that he did not make an effort to get out of the way. As a matter of fact, he may have made an effort to get in the way.
Right?
And then he calls him out if he thinks it's a strike, which to me it looked like a strike initially. I didn't even see it hit him the first time I watched it.
It barely
because it barely touched him. I was like, oh, that's just a strike. Yep, see you later. And then the ref starts slapping his elbow, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he gives him the walk sign. I'm like, where is he going?
I find it amazing that he got that call right. He got the hit by pitch part right. He was right on it. Bam.
He saw that he got hit.
But he kind of should have realized that he didn't make an effort to get out of the way, and that would have been.
The important thing to think about is that the ref is not watching the batter as much as he's watching the ball.
Right. He's watching for that contact, and he saw it. So
you've worked home plate, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at a pitch, are you looking kind of abstract to see how the ball enters, or are you actually watching the ball enter?
It's all periphery, my man. Periphery.
So you're kind of seeing everything at once.
Yeah, the whole field, the crowd, everything.
So really, this is an issue with the ref didn't see that he leaned his elbow out.
He should have seen that. It was not a normal baseball motion
No, well, he
that he
kind of
made.
dipped it in and then stuck it out a little bit.
Because his right elbow goes up at the end into the pitch, and it wasn't. What I've been always told was if the pitch is inside and it's coming at you, you turn right into the pitch, which is true. You pull the bat down and you roll your body. You don't throw your arm out because if it hits you in the arm, breaks your arm, that's not okay. You pull all the important parts in and you dip and you hold the bat down and it hits you in the back.
Right.
But he didn't do that. He turned and threw his elbow out. He was turning, but he wasn't turning the right way. That everyone
he wasn't turning the right way.
Yeah.
And this guy's a professional baseball player. He's been doing this for years.
He knows.
This was on purpose.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of one of those things where, do I think the ref got it wrong in the moment? No. And it sucks that you can't review it.
Right.
But that is kind of what it is.
And that's the bottom line we're going to say is that what come to find out that those two things are not reviewable, whether it was in the strike zone when he got hit and or whether he made an attempt to get out of the way. That has to be called right on the field. And he didn't call either of those things. So
that ref was in a bad position.
It's a terrible spot, and the fact that it's not reviewable is a travesty.
I should stop calling him a ref. I should start calling him an umpire, like what he's supposed to be called.
He's a referee. He's an official.
Come on, Blue.
Come on, Blue. All right, we're gonna move to number 2. Okay, let me take you to Atlanta. Phillies Braves tied 6, top of the 9th. Didi Gregorius, yes, his name's Didi, is going to hit a shallow fly ball to left, and we're going to listen to the rest of this. Are you ready?
Ready.
Left-handed pinch hitter against the southpaw Will Smith. Didi pops that one into the opposite field. Ozuna's got it. Bohm's going to try it. Here he comes, and he's safe at the plate. Wow! On a shallow fly ball into left field. They roll the dice with Ozuna's arm, and Bohm is able to score on a bang-bang play at the plate.
So, safe or out? In full speed,
out.
Regular motion, you thought he was out.
I thought he was out.
From the camera angle you had.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It didn't, I would have watched that 1,000 times over and go, yeah, he's out.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Like every single time.
I said the same thing when I saw it, but that camera angle is not what the umpire sees. Right?
No.
It's much higher.
Yeah.
And it's a much better angle. That umpire is flat on the field. Now, I will say this, and I said this to you when we first watched it. That umpire was out of position.
Yeah, he was supposed to be in a different spot.
He needed to be more to the left, down the third baseline, just about 1 or 2 feet. But he needed to come around that play a little more. So he's standing behind it. Number one, when you're behind a guy with the ball, you can't tell when he makes a tag. It is really hard.
Yeah, you can't see through him to see that,
right,
that extension.
To see the contact. You don't know when it actually happens, especially when a guy's sliding and there's other contact at the plate with the catcher. You don't know. And now, it was a great slide by Bohm. It was absolutely a great slide.
It looked good, yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was exactly what you're going to do, except he didn't.
He felt good about it, too. He jumped up and
he just didn't
started
hit the plate. Yeah, well, that's that's what I was always trained to do, too, in baseball, was that you
sell it.
Yeah, you sell it. You sell everything. That literally, yep, I'm safe. I know I'm safe. I should be here. That's exactly
that's because in the leagues that you've played in and leagues that most people will play in their lives, there's no replay. So you sell it because it matters if he believes it.
Well, yeah, the call on the field is the only call.
In these leagues, though, they can review it. So selling it is kind of hit or miss of a necessary thing, but it never hurts.
Well, here's the thing that it boils down to. This got reviewed as well, but this was reviewable, completely reviewable.
Right.
Is he safe or out? That's a reviewable call.
Right.
And when you sell it like this, you're getting the call on the field as a safe. That's important, and everyone who watches NFL football knows how important the call on the field is.
That damn call on the field.
The call on the field is the thing. It isn't about, what we think or may have happened or what we saw happen. It's literally whatever the umpire called. That is number one. Now we got to have evidence that it didn't actually happen another way. And I still watch the replay and I go, he didn't touch plate. But maybe they didn't see enough to realize he didn't touch the plate. I don't know how. I think that the replay got it wrong in this particular instance.
Oh, the replay absolutely got it wrong. He was out.
And he was out.
Being fair, here's the thing I'll slightly kind of edge is that there was still another half an inning to go.
Yep.
So this wasn't the end of the game. Like the last one was the end of the game.
Yeah.
This, you still have another half inning. You have a chance to get back that run. They didn't. They lost the game. But so it ended up being a game-defining call, but you don't know that in the moment. As opposed to the other one, when you're making that call, that is a game defining call because the game's over if you're saying it's this.
And and the thing about the thing about the Mets call is that it it it's so final and it leaves such a bad taste in the other team's mouth. The Marlins, I don't know how Michael Conforto is going to come up to the plate the next time against the Marlins, and they're not just going to drill him with a pitch and go, that is a hit by pitch.
You guys want to see hit by
Yeah,
pitch?
you want to
stick that elbow in there.
You want to see that? Stick your elbow out here. I'm gonna hit you in the other elbow.
Let me show you how much I can make this hurt.
Because I feel like that's coming.
Yeah, but see, that's that unwritten baseball crap.
Yeah, that shouldn't happen, but it does, and we all know.
Yeah,
it's a mess, but that's okay. So we hope you like that. If you want to go watch the replays, go watch it in slow mo, and you'll see what happened. Especially this one, the first one. There's really it doesn't matter if you see it in slow mo or not. It's just non-reviewable call, but this one was absolutely reviewable. He's absolutely out, and they absolutely botched it. So,
quick brainstorm idea while we're live, and people can comment if they'd like.
Yeah,
we should do this same exact thing, the your call thing, or you make the call. But you should show me a game I haven't seen.
Oh, and have you just make the call?
Something old that you know how it ends, but I have no clue how it ends, and be like, tell me your opinion on this.
A Pine Tar
and then
Bat
you can
episode.
Explain what. Oh my gosh, the Pine Tar. I want to see a ref come out and rub behind someone's ear and then eject him.
We could do that. I could totally grab old clips and have you just make the call.
There's a lot of baseball and stuff out there that I have not seen.
Absolutely. We can absolutely do it. All right. It's a good item. We're not going to do this every week, but it's going to be in the rotation with our your mom thinks I talk too much segment. So we're going to start having different segments in each show, and we'll see what is popular.
I know she'll hear this, but she can't tell you talk too much. She's got no leg to stand on.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You know
my phone is blowing up already.
Her birthday is coming, and it's like 2 presents you need now.
Yes.
Let's talk about the NHL just for a minute.
Right.
So here's your NHL standings. We're going to go quick. I like the NHL in that it's tight. The league has the division races are fairly close. Colorado leads Vegas by 4. I thought Vegas was probably the best team in hockey this year, but clearly that's not the case. They've been relatively struggling. Let Colorado get in front of them somehow. You got the Washington Capitals, who may be the best team in hockey. I don't know. They're in a tough division. The Islanders and Pittsburgh right behind them. And like I said last week, watch out for Boston. Just I'm saying, they're hanging in there. The Scotia North, Toronto has the biggest lead of any division leader, and it's only 5 points over Winnipeg, and it's 8 over Edmonton. And then you have the Discover Central, which is Carolina and Tampa and Florida, all tied at 58 points. So I love that. I mean, we're 40.
It still just kind of feels like a 3-man race though between Washington, Colorado, and Colorado and Vegas.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Tampa's last year's winner. I wouldn't put too much past that experience.
But they do this every year. Is that Tampa comes in great, and then about midway through the season, I don't know if it's just like that they're just not a sexy team or something, but people just stop talking about them, and you're moving on to talking about somebody else. But every year, Colorado gets all this buzz. I mean, last year Colorado disappointed like crazy in the playoffs, but Vegas has been pretty hot since they came in the league. So I think whoever wins the Colorado Vegas division is going to win it all.
All right. I think that's fair. I feel like I'm going to put my money on Toronto. I'm going to go with the Leafs. I feel like they're hey, you know what? I when I say put my money, it's $1. That's all I'm putting.
No money.
It's the standard bet. It's $1.
The standard bet.
Yeah, the standard bet. So we're gonna go to our trivia question. The NHL brings us to the trivia question, which is an NHL trivia question for all you NHL buffs out there. Trivia question is brought to you by Stave and Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. They're open at both locations. The winery at the Vineyard, 3827 Fletcher Drive, 7 days a week, 12 to 6 for patio dining. The downtown tasting room at 210 Oak Street, 12 to 6 Thursday through Sunday. Go to staveandstone.com and check out their selection of award-winning wines, or make a reservation and go taste it for yourself. I'm going to give you a little preview of the website here, and then, there's some notes and whatnot on here, and, you can visit us, make a reservation. This is actually a view from out at the Vineyard.
That's gorgeous.
Oh, it's absolutely stunning. And then you can just always go in and shop for wine, depending upon, You know what state you live in.
Is that Mount Hood in that picture?
That is Mount Adams.
That's Mount Adams. So that's facing across the river.
Correct. And that's the way.
Okay.
That's the way
I thought it didn't look steep enough to be Mount Hood.
That's the way the back patio shows. Mount Hood, because of where it sits in Odell, it doesn't have a great view of it. You can only see the top of Mount Hood. But you can see all of Mount Adams, and it's
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. Anyway, you can go on here and you can order wine, and they'll ship it. It's all on here. Go to stavenstone.com and call them for a reservation at 541-946-3750. That's 541-WINE-750. Or you can email them info@stavenstone.com for more information. Stavenstone, wines with personality. Our trivia question. Are you ready for the trivia question?
It's born ready.
I don't, I feel like you say
I feel like you say
that.
You can actually attest to whether that's true. I think I was born ready.
You say it, and then I go, not so much. You ready?
Yeah.
NHL. We're talking NHL. What is the record for largest winning margin in an NHL division? So you just saw that the largest lead,
like final division standings.
Correct. So you just saw the leads there, and the largest one is 5 points. Right? I want to know what the point difference was between first and second in the largest ever division win.
And for bonus points, can we guess the division?
Sure, but it changed. It doesn't.
It
they don't have that division now because they changed everything like last year, or this year, or whatever.
Gotcha.
So it'd be hard. But
so largest margin. In NHL.
If you can tell me who it is, what's the record for the number, and then tell me who did it, that'd be even better. That's your second part. That's your bonus question.
So what the margin is and who did it?
And who did it? Right.
Roger that.
And here's your hint for the trivia question.
Uh-oh.
They did it twice. And they did it in back-to-back years.
Oh,
so there you go.
Doesn't help me at all. My hockey knowledge is.
I feel like you have to know a little historical hockey, in order to get that right.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, you probably do, and I'm going to think about it. So I think I know. I think I have an idea for who the number. I was going to be a stab in the dark.
Okay. All right. So MLS starts Friday. We talked about this last week, but I just want to throw it out there because you couldn't hear Parker, and not that it really matters. But MLS starts Friday, this Friday. Houston and San Jose, Seattle and Minnesota. The Seattle-Minnesota game is actually going to be on, I think it's Fox Sports 1 or something. It's hard to find MLS games. Most of them are on ESPN Plus. So if you don't have a subscription, if you like watching soccer, that's what you got to go do to see most of the games. They did the same thing with the Bundesliga. And the German Bundesliga was all on ESPN Plus for the most part, except an occasional game on ESPN here.
Do you have ESPN Plus?
I do.
I have. This isn't a problem for you fancy people.
No, I have all of the sports subscriptions because why?
I have it too. So because we talk sports a lot.
It's a business write-off.
Oh, don't let the IRS hear you.
Well, they know.
They know. They've seen the taxes.
It is a professional subscription.
Yes, of course.
If this was my profession, that would be true.
Are you trying to tell me that every time I've ever been to a dentist's office and they have all those magazines, like 60 different, what's it called? They're all business write-offs?
If they're dental magazines, they absolutely are.
Well, they're entertainment for the lobby.
No, the entertainment ones don't count.
Okay, just checking.
Although you could write it off as an office supply or something, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean,
we'll talk about that more on your taxes segment.
I think I think taxes are due May 15th. We'll talk about that on May 15th show. And maybe we should talk about the taxes of sports.
The only thing I know about the taxes of sport, and somebody might think that people out there might think this is cool, is that NFL athletes so all sports, they're taxed in every single state that they play in. So if you play in 30 states, you have 30 different state tax reports.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone.
That's correct.
I was blown away by that. I had no clue. I figured that your company would consolidate all that stuff or something. Nope, you have to do 30 different state tax forms.
And it's not just them. It's anybody who earns money in any state other than what they live in. If that state has a state income tax, you got to file.
Right. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I moved one year between jobs. I moved from Oregon to Washington, and I had to file an Oregon tax return.
And Washington.
Right? No, Washington doesn't have a state income tax.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I had to file an Oregon one, even though now I live in Washington. Anyway, so MLS is coming. Portland plays on Sunday. Portland Timbers, Vancouver Whitecaps play Sunday night. It's on ESPN Plus. Just in case you're excited about it, don't get too excited because you can't see it. Get a subscription. I mean, it's like $9 or something like that.
Well, you can
month.
actually partner it with Disney Plus,
Yeah.
Hulu, and ESPN Plus, and it's like $12.
Yeah,
Or
it's like
$13.
$12 or $13.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah,
sure it'll go
it's
up $1 every 6 months or something like
yeah, in
Netflix
5
does.
years and you'll be paying $70 for it, but for now it's a good deal.
Because that is exactly what Netflix does. Am I wrong?
And they still have the cancel anytime. So
Hey.
like if you use it for a month and then soccer season ends and there's nothing else you want to watch, just drop it.
Hey, so I wanted to let everyone know that the picture you're seeing now is not the picture you're supposed to be seeing.
Oh, shit, old Josh Rosen. That's not what we're supposed to be talking about.
That is not actually what we're going to talk about, because I had this up, like, this is 3 episodes old, and
what?
Well, so here, yeah, part
behind the scenes.
I'm
you
just
have
saying,
these templates and you just kind of insert new ones.
This is what we were supposed to be seeing.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, there's an issue sometimes, and the scene doesn't change over because I rename it, but I reuse some scenes and I put new stuff on it. Yeah. Long story short, NFL Draft is scheduled Thursday, April 29th through Saturday, May the 1st. We'll be having a mock draft of the top 10 on Wednesday, April 28th. And there's your top 10 draft picks as of right now. Well, it's actually 12, but that's whatever. So we're going to do top 10. And I'm going to let Parker have the number 1 pick because I know who it is. And
that's too easy.
And so Parker's going to get the odd number picks, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I'm going to get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you don't want to miss us bargaining or trading to get.
Wait, are we allowed to trade with each other?
There's no rules. The rules are,
since we both own the pick, so if I wanted to give up like the number 7, could I give you a 7 and 2 first rounders your number?
We can do whatever we want. We're the managers.
Interesting.
See, we can do whatever we want. And I don't know how we'll figure out if you want to trade with a team that drafts 26th. I don't know. I guess I have the even ones and you have the odd.
That's just how we'll have to figure it out.
We'll just have to figure it out. We'll do it on the fly. Maybe we'll just do it straight and not have trades. But I mean,
yeah, no, I say we just straight pick.
There's going to be a trade.
If people have an opinion of what we should do, send us an email and let us know.
I mean, if you got a better idea, great.
If you want to see us do the whole first round, let us know.
Unless we can just get 8 more people to call in and everybody gets a team. Anyway,
if you call in, you'll get the first pick.
You can, yeah, we'll give you Jacksonville's pick. That's right.
I feel like this is the worst idea, is to give it off to the hands of random people.
I feel like
first pick, we take Bo Jackson.
Everyone knows he can still play. I mean, I've seen him. So yeah, looking forward to that. That's on the 28th, Wednesday the 28th. That is 2 weeks in case you're mathematically challenged. I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying if you were, then whatever. So, second half or last segment of the show is brought to you by BossKittyShop.com and BossKittyLive.com. Boss Kitty hand-dyed yarns. Make sure you tune in to BossKittyLive.com 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday. So they're on just before us. You can watch it for an hour, and then you tune in to us. Well, they're on Twitch, so you got to go find it. But anyway, 6 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday, 11 a.m. every other Sunday. Something big is coming still from Boss Kitty. We still haven't made the announcement quite yet. It's not on Boss Kitty, but if you've been watching, listening on Boss Kitty Live, there's probably rumblings. But they're going to have a big deal, and keep watching our show. We'll give you an update. And keep watching BossKittyLive.com for more details as we go throughout the summer. That's Boss Kitty hand-dyed yarns. Yarn so boss, you'll knit your pants. So we got pay equality is our second half topic. And I don't know how much time we have, like 10 minutes. So we may not get to all of it. But what we want to talk about is Draymond Green and Megan Rapinoe and their little clash, their little dust-up, their little conversation. I don't know what it is. I want to play what Draymond said about Megan and the women in the WNBA complaining about pay. And that's more what he was complaining about, with women in the WNBA. But we're going to play a little segment, a little clip from Draymond, and this is what he said in an interview about them complaining about pay.
I'm really tired of seeing them complain about the lack of pay because they're doing themselves a disservice by just complaining, and
right. They're not just complaining.
Huh?
They're not just complaining, really.
But they are, because they're not laying out steps that they can take to change that. And so it's coming off as a complaint because the people that can change it, they're just going to continue to say, well, the revenue isn't there.
So it sounds like he's saying quit whining and do something.
Right.
That is exactly how Megan Rapinoe took it.
That's exactly how a lot of the world took it.
Yeah, because it does sound like that. I mean,
that's the way I would have, if I had not heard the whole thing, that's exactly the way I would have taken it. I'd been like, dude, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was unfortunate the way he worded it, and I don't know if he expressed himself well. I mean, obviously he explains it here. We're going to show you in a minute or two. But so the reaction from Megan Rapinoe, who's probably the leader in terms of pay equality and fighting for women's equal pay in sports, she had this to say, and she said it's really unfortunate in the position he's in, having all of the resources that he has and the ability to have a much more educated opinion that he just hasn't. And that's a knee-jerk reaction in terms of probably should have let that one cool for a minute. You know what I mean? Because it to me it sounded hot what he said, and I knew someone was going to take it hot, and she did, and that's fine because it's a fight that needs to be fought at some point to a certain extent, and I'll explain more about how I feel. But she also said this, so there's more, because she also said that you obviously showed your, I'm going to say it, you obviously showed your whole ass in not even understanding what we all talk about all the time. You don't think we ask for more money? I mean, what are we screaming about nonstop? Which is right. That's what they've been doing. Now, this quote, when she says, "What are we screaming about?" That's exactly what he's talking about. Stop screaming about it and do something about it. Right? That is what he's trying to say. But
in a less couth way.
But they are doing something about it. They're not just screaming about it. But if you don't scream, and everybody's heard the phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you don't scream about it, nothing will happen. Period. So you got to do the screaming, but he's right in that you've got to back it up with something. Give them a plan. Here's what we can do. Here's how we can make this happen. Right?
Right.
Okay. And did you perceive it any other way? What she said.
That initial part, no.
Oh, yeah, what she said, did you perceive it as, I mean, it's a little bit snippy, and it's a little, but they're angry. I mean, they're angry about the whole situation. So we're going to talk about pay gap in a minute. I'm going to show you a couple of fun graphs and charts. But let me show you what Draymond then said in rebuttal. That's probably the best term to what Megan Rapinoe said. And that's this.
Where I stand, I saw what Megan Rapinoe said, and she said it's unfortunate of his view, that's his view. And, I think it's unfortunate that she thinks it's unfortunate that that's my view, because at the end of the day, what Megan wants and what I want is the same thing. If we can both do something to move the needle to get to the end goal, great. I have no complaints with whatever it is that she wants to do.
That's what he said, and that makes more sense. He's right, and he's all for them making more money. He's all, because let's be honest, every professional athlete is for every other professional athlete making more money, because if they all make more money, he's going to make more money.
Absolutely.
Because he has nothing to lose.
But that undercuts his argument, and that makes him sound like he's being self-serving. Like, let's take what we think out of it in that regard and say that he's just being benevolent and wants them to be equal. Let's just hope, because that's the way it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, and hopefully that is exactly what he's saying, is that we're all on the same side, and we all want you to succeed, and we all want everyone to be more equal. I'm about to show you a graph on soccer. And
this is where it all started, was with soccer.
So yeah, and this is what we're talking about: the U.S. women's team versus the U.S. men's team. This is U.S. soccer and how they pay their athletes. So I'm going to show you a couple things here. In that, oops, hold on, I can't find the stop. Where's the stop? There it is. So here's your pay chart. U.S. men's and women's national soccer teams, and it's based on 20 games because there's 20 international friendlies you're supposed to play each year, right? At a minimum. This is assuming that they just played the 20 friendlies. This is what the pay would be, right? If you lost all 20 games, you see the difference between what the men would get and what the women would get.
Right.
That's not a huge gap, but it is a gap. But then it comes hey, we won half the games. Wow. Well, the men just get this huge amount of money. It's a huge pay disparity for winning 10 games. And if they won all the games, it is gigantic. It's almost 3 times as much. Right. So that's where this is coming into effect, is that the women have been playing the same amount of games as the men. They've been actually playing more because they made World Cups. And they won World Cups.
They've done a lot better.
Yeah, their performance has just been way better than the men's team. And I will tell you the one detractor from that argument is that when you play in a league that has 6 teams that are good, the odds of you getting to the championship are pretty good. The men's team playing in the World Cup, where these teams like France and Germany and Brazil have been doing this for years and years and years and years and years, and they're way better than us all the time. There are probably a dozen men's national teams that could win the next World Cup, but there are probably only 3 women's teams.
Right.
So when you're playing against an inferior group, you're going to make a final, and you have a pretty good chance of winning. So
yeah, the odds of doing better in your favor.
Right. So there's that. But that's, needless to say, they've gone further. The men didn't even qualify for the World Cup, the last 2. And they didn't qualify for the Olympics this year. And it looks pathetic on the men's side. And the argument then becomes, well, they can't even get into the international tournaments because they're not good enough, the men's team. And we're winning them, but we're still paid half, a third of what they get paid. So, yeah. So you see the disparity, and then I've got a little chart here that talks about America's stance on equal pay for athletes, and we're talking about, it's a little fuzzy because it was a tiny little picture, but anyway, 1,246 U.S. adults were interviewed about this, and this literally at random, and this literally has a chart that says, men and women should be paid equally at comparable events like the World Cup, and what you see here is the women, only 40% of the women say that's true. They don't even have a majority of the women that tell you that that's true. So I feel like if you can't get your own people to say that's true, then how are you going to convince everyone that that's true? But you can see it right here. And then, of course, the men, which is 27%. And then men and women should be paid equally relative to the revenue an event generates. That gets more even. And I think that's probably true. And then the next question, which is really unfortunate, it's fair that women get paid less because women's sports generate less revenue. And that's where you see the disparity, where the men still say, yeah, that's fair. Is it?
Well, in an entertainment industry.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, whatever makes money.
That's where it gets tough, is you're talking about an entertainment industry. So.
Yeah. And then, of course, the last one, it's fair that women get paid less because they are inferior athletes. Well, that's probably not true.
Well, all of the garbage people that voted that way,
yeah,
I don't really need to be friends with you. So
yeah, it's true.
I don't. that last little poll.
Well,
that's the trash in our country. Not being able to have a coherent thought and actually put some time into this and just voting it based on the bias that they're women.
Right.
That makes you pretty much garbage.
So when the women's national team had a lawsuit against the U.S. Soccer Federation, there's this. Most Americans support the U.S. women's national team over the U.S. Soccer Federation, which they did. Almost every category, with the exception of Republicans.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's a stat. So I feel like, people are generally behind the women's national team in that it's a coherent argument that they probably should get paid more. Should they get paid the same as a men's team? It depends. I think that's the answer.
Right.
But a lot of factors going into that. But I feel like they should get paid more than they're getting paid. It should be closer, but maybe not the same because of the revenue. And, the U.S. men's national team versus Mexico, if they're playing in a friendly somewhere, that is sold out. Right?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't count for anything, just a friendly game, it is sold out. The women won't do that. Not normally. Anyway, so and then I have
so that kind of goes into what I found, but I want to hear your last chart here.
here's the last one of these, which is the average attendance, right? So there you see this is for each year from 08 through 15, and apparently you can't get information from the last 6 years. It's there's a blackout or something. I don't know. But that's the nearest thing I could find. But this is still a good chart because we missed 2 World Cups. The men missed 2 World Cups in here, and the women who reached, you can see in 11, reached the World Cup finals, and in 15 they won the whole thing, and they still didn't draw as much attendance as the men.
Right.
So that's where the revenue thing comes in. Is that, gosh, you need to make more money. How do you get more people to come see it? And obviously in 15 it was closer, but you had to win the World Cup just to get close to where the men were who didn't qualify for the World Cup.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that thing. All right. What do you got?
What do I got?
What do you got?
So here's what I got. And a couple years ago, the women filed a suit, against the USA Soccer Federation, citing that they were being paid less. Well, the undisputed fact of that suit was that women were paying out $220,000 per game. Men were paying out $212,000 per game. Women were making more money as a whole. This is in the lawsuit. This is in the judge's ruling saying, hey, this is not disputed. These are cold, hard numbers. Women are being paid. There is more money going out to women per game than there is to men. It's just the way it is. ESPN also posted an article that published the revenue figures per game. So for women, they generated about $101.3 million over 238 games from 09 to 19, so over a 10-year span. That's about $426,000 per game. Men generated $185 million, so $84 million more over 191 games, 47 games less, to make $972,000 per game. So they were almost doubling. No, they were doubling. They were over doubling what the women were putting out revenue-wise per game. But during some of this time, that 2015 to 2019 period, they were paying out their athletes more than what their men were paying out. What I think we have here is a pay disparity within the sport. And it's because the top tier, you're Megan Rapinoe. Megan Rapinoe isn't hurting for money.
No.
Megan Rapinoe's doing this for her teammates, for the bench players.
Right.
That's who she's doing it for.
Right.
Those people make garbage, yes, but Megan's doing fine. Megan and all her other superstars are doing better than fine. That's kind of where you end up in a weird state, is they're being paid out more money, especially during this 4-year span. They're being paid out more money, only by $8,000, but they're still being paid out more. But it's, most of it's going to the top tier women's athlete, and then the rest of it's kind of trickling down to everyone else.
Right.
Whereas, the men were paying out okay. And another thing is, if you've watched men's soccer, they're not good.
Well,
they haven't been that great. I mean, yeah, they won CONCACAF, I think, back in 2017 or whatever it was, but they haven't been substantial.
Let's preface that by saying that the men's team this year, right now, is pretty good. The reason they didn't make the Olympic team was because that's a U23 team. That's what's allowed to play in the Olympic Games, is they have to all be under 23, which only like 2 or 3 guys who are on the men's national team are under 23. So that's all that could have played on that team. So it wasn't your men's national team. It was a version of the national team that played in the Olympic qualifying. And they failed to qualify. Missed it by a game, basically. Lost a qualifying game that they would have gotten in had they won. But the men's national team itself has been on a pretty hot streak, and they've been beating some good teams or tying some good teams. They are much better this year. And when when World Cup qualifying comes around again here shortly, they're going to be a much better team than they were. They've gotten some good athletes. They're going to be better. But historically, frustrating to watch. Yeah, frustrating.
Yeah.
Because
this whole pay thing kind of shifts that direction of like, well, the women's team has been fantastic, but they're getting shafted. And you're right. 80% of their athletes are getting shafted.
Yeah.
20% are not. I don't need to hear about your Megan Rapinoes. I don't need to hear about your Alex Morgans, your Sydney Leroux's. They're making plenty of money. Sure. They're doing okay. At least that's the way it seems, based on the numbers that are being put out by your own people.
Right.
But even with that success, you're still not generating half of the money per game that a terrible men's team was during that time. We would rather go watch, as Americans, based on the numbers, we would rather go watch our men's team lose terribly And we'd rather do that in droves than go watch our women's team win fantastically because they're so much better than everybody else.
Yeah, and that's part of what I was saying was that
Yeah, it's
the
tough.
competition level is one of those things where you watch the men's team and they're in a tight game all the time against the good international teams. That's what you want to see. Whereas the women's team will play a friendly against whoever, and it's 4-0.
Right.
That's nobody wants to really see that, unless
But I
you're
think
just a diehard soccer fan.
I think that's just kind of where you get into it, though, is that there is a gap in the wages. There is a gap between men's and women's. It's definitely tied to revenue. At least that's what they'll say. And I Draymond's going to say that that's just an excuse, but it's also a fact.
It's a fact.
If your business doesn't make any money, you don't have any more money to pay people. That's just how that goes.
And if you're going to argue that the WNBA needs to get paid the same as the NBA because they're doing the same amount of work, I think that's not a
I think the WNBA
truthful
has a better claim to this whole thing because their league is competitive top to bottom.
I don't think it's a truthful statement in that if you look at the attendance that the WNBA draws, there's only 2 or 3 teams that draw a regular attendance that's over 10,000.
Yeah, the Sparks, Seattle,
it's LA, it's New York, it's
it's a couple big teams, yeah.
But everybody else is 6,000. It's like 6,700 is the average attendance at a women's game.
That's average Portland State.
The average men's, the average NBA game is about 17,000. So that is a gigantic disparity in terms of that. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like, so let me just real quick, because we're gonna run out of time.
It's all right. We can go over
a little bit. I wanted to show this because this is when we talk about revenue being what drives things. This is a chart of all the NCAA teams, Division One. Well, they're all divisions. All the NCAA teams in all of these sports, and the light blue is men's teams and dark blue is women's teams. But this is all of these sports. It's not every sport, but it's a pretty good indicator. It's most sports. There are 20,984 NCAA sports teams on this chart.
Ooh.
Okay, that's how many there are. Football, if you look at it, it's 672 teams. There are 672 football teams. That is 3.2% of the total NCAA teams.
Right.
That are included on this chart. There are some other sports.
And those are entirely male.
And they're entirely male, absolutely. So there's 672. That's 3.2% of all the total teams. I'm going to show you the next slide, which is
well, actually, there's probably a sliver at the end of that football one, like the tiniest one for that kicker from Vanderbilt.
I don't think she counts as a whole team.
No, well, that's true. But
I mean,
you're right.
It could
men's sports versus women's sports. You're right.
See, and now my thing's not going to change. Where's my other picture? Oh, you got to keep killing. You're killing me, Smalls.
No one's killing you. No one's killing you.
Killing me. I don't understand what's going on here. There's my picture. So, here's your revenue by sport.
Right.
Same sports, but here's your revenue. So, total revenue on this chart, 53 million, a little over 53 million. Oh, whoa. Hey, wait a minute. Let's go back.
Yeah, you jumped ahead. You jumped ahead.
I tried to hit pause. Maybe it's pause now. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, it's not pause.
I mean, it's not pausing. It's not stopping. It's not doing anything. I hit the button like 6 times. It's not doing anything.
There we go. So football's at the top.
Football, there's $53 million total on this chart. Football's got 31 million of that. By the way, that's 60.2% of the total NCAA revenue. 3.2% of the teams make 60% of the total revenue for the NCAA.
Yeah.
That's why football gets treated the way football gets treated. That's why a football ticket costs way more than, I mean, I don't even know that there's equestrian teams. It says it on here. And that they make almost $1 million.
A lot of schools have tickets to most of their games free, except for football and basketball.
Right. And even places like University of Oregon will sell you a football ticket. Hey, if you bring your football ticket to the baseball game tomorrow, it's free. That kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah. Because they want you to go to the football game.
Any way we can get attendance.
Right. Any way we can get you to go to the softball game or the baseball game or the soccer game, that's great too. But yeah, you can see it on here. It's just it amazed me, that whole disparity. 3% of the teams, 60% of the revenue, and that's what drives that revenue, is what makes it possible for you to have a women's soccer team, to have a swimming and diving team. That a lot of that revenue is distributed, not all of it.
And so you see with this imbalance of how much football and men's basketball, because if you combine those two,
yeah,
like the two men's sports,
didn't do that.
Like that's what That's about 40 million of that 60 million that you were talking about, 57 million.
It is 40 million of the 53 million, so you're almost up to about 75 or 6 or 7%.
Yeah. So if you combine those two sports,
yeah,
and you hit about 75% of the entire revenue of
Yeah.
all sports, it just goes to show why. So I was talking with a coach at Portland State, and this past year when football had to cancel all their games,
yeah,
they started having to seek relief, federal relief, to help their school and to keep these sports alive, because football had five $500,000 paydays. Nobody else made money. Football made money. That was it. And that paid for every other sport at that school. But because of Title IX, you have to have an equal number of men's sports to women's sports. You have to have an equal number of men's scholarships to women's scholarships and things like that. But the disproportionate amount of money that the men bring in, the men's sports brings in versus the women's sports,
yeah,
kind of shows why that's tough, is because you're requiring men's sports to support every other sport.
right.
And it can get a little unfair. I get people who feel like that's a pressure that they don't need or that they don't deserve. But I think it's important that we keep all those other sports around because it keeps it amateur, at least in college.
Right. Yeah. It is tough. It is they're in a schools are in a tough position in that you want to field as many teams as possible so that everybody has a chance who's an athlete to do what they want to do.
Right.
But you also have to look at most of those sports that you're putting out there are going to lose money. So
Yeah.
so just
like hard too.
yeah, just to have a team is going to cost the school money. It's not going to generate any money.
Yeah.
So to fund, I mean, some of those are not, you know, the sport itself is not super expensive to play. You know what I mean? It doesn't cost a lot, but there are, you know, if you already got a pool, well, hell, swimming and diving, I mean, right? What does it cost? Officials to run it,
Officials to run it, maintenance team to
speedos,
to pick it up, clean it up, speedos, the equipment manager who
Gotta
supply
wash
the
it.
speedos,
Yeah.
the chlorine for the pool,
Chlorine
the
for the pool.
monitoring of the
Right.
yeah. There's a bunch of little things. I would say for a sport like that, you're
Yeah.
talking more maintenance costs than anything
Right.
else because there's such few things involved. But let's say a sport like women's softball.
Yes.
Right, that's a much better example of it. Women's
Officials,
softball loses
equipment.
money traditionally.
Yeah.
Officials, equipment. Now you have commentators
Uniforms.
in the booth. Now you have
Yeah.
your uniforms. Now you have your concession stand workers. Now you have your parking lot attendants.
Yeah. There's a lot
You
of
have
people
all
involved.
of these people. Yeah, and it that's where it starts to add up for a sport that is already not going to make you any money.
I mean, the sports that you could throw out there, golf and tennis would be an example. That
Golf and tennis are very, very high cost, especially a set of golf clubs.
it's true.
Very low reward.
If you have to buy the equipment, it becomes expensive. If you don't, well, a lot of those people play with their own clubs because that's what they're used to. But you know, I mean, the cost, the general upkeep of a golf course is usually not on the university unless they own a golf course. Usually they're playing somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not everybody's like Arizona State that has 2 18-hole golf courses.
No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
Or Oregon State that has a fantastic driving range.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, we need to do the trivia question, right?
Yeah, and then we got to get to my minute.
And I don't know if there's time for it. Oh yeah, we'll do it. Fine.
We'll do it.
You know what? Let's do your minute first before we answer
do
the
my
trivia
minute
question.
first?
Yeah, because the trivia question's on the way out. So this is our segment entitled "Your Mom Thinks I Talk Too Much," where Parker gets the floor for 1 minute and the timer starts now. Go.
So, mine's a question for you. How would you feel about an organic beer?
Organic beer, meaning
Coors just announced an organic beer called Coors Pure.
It just means that all the stuff in it was organic, right?
There's no sugar. There's no additives. It's pretty much just hops, water, things like that. There's no sugar. No sugar added. So let's rephrase that. No sugar added.
Added, right.
So if there's sugar in the solution as it's made, whatever, but they're not adding any sugar, because I know that traditional companies like Coors Banquet add sugar in at the end to give it a little extra zing.
Well, plus I was under the impression that yeast need to eat sugar to poop alcohol.
That is the best description of how alcohol is made.
Right.
Yeast needs to eat sugar to poop alcohol.
That is exactly how it gets made. And that you might never drink a beer again now, but so I don't know. That's interesting.
Would you try it?
Yeah, I absolutely would try it. But and I think it's just I want to know if it's all organic, literally, like 100% of this is going to be organic. And if I don't know that they need organic and sugar added are two different things, because you can get organic sugar.
Well, this is organic.
Yeah,
and no sugar added.
I don't know
So
about that. Why don't we
it's
just
the holy grail of beer.
one
apparently.
step at a time, people?
And it's still a light beer, by the way. That's what it
Oh
says.
my
It's
gosh.
the Coors Pure light beer. Comes in a
Listen,
gold can.
This is your minute, and you wasted it on asking me a question about beer.
Not, I want to know. This is a very interesting thing. So what I have to say about it is that I don't think there's a problem with beer. I think we should stay out of it.
Right?
I think that companies are always looking for something new. I just saw White Claw had a report on my morning news about introducing a new White Claw brand. I'm like, what is going on here? Whatever happened to just you like the alcohol you liked and that was it? Why is it a whole thing now? We don't need organic. We don't need organic beer. I think we'll be fine. I mean, I'm not against it, and there are people out there who will probably benefit from it, but not me. Let's just keep beer, man.
It's the current late 20-year-olds and early 30-year-olds. That's what your problem is, and what they are.
Me.
Yeah, what they're
Thanks
after, and you're different though, because I've seen what you drink.
Hashtag built different.
Hashtag I don't know what. So let me just say this: they're drinking all of these seltzers.
It's a big deal right now. Yeah,
they're drinking all of the ciders.
Ciders, I like ciders though,
and they like
heavy sugar,
and they like flavor. That's what they want. They're drinking hard alcohol more than people the next generation above them. I guess my generation. They're drinking more hard alcohol.
Well, I would say that the people who are predominantly buying like your seltzers and things like that, that's not my generation. That's the next one after that.
So for those of you who don't know, I work for a company that produces and sells hops.
And that's why I asked him about the beer question.
Right. So that's the background behind that. And I know a little bit about the beer industry and alcohol industry in general. So the problem you run into is that used to be people bought Budweiser and they bought Miller and they bought Coors, and then all of a sudden they had light beers. Oh well, light beer, less calories, still tastes great.
No big deal.
Yeah, and that was the thing, and that's all you had. You had the regular and you had the light.
Those were the people that had the infrastructure to distribute.
Right. And then flavor became an issue. People wanted something that tasted better, which is not. You're not wrong for wanting that. I agree with that. There are so many different flavors because IPA became a thing.
And it's a big deal up here in the Northwest. Real big.
India Pale Ale became a gigantic thing, and it needed to add flavor. And there's a bazillion flavored hops now, and the kids, and I say kids, they're 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. They want things that have lots of flavor, and that's why they're going to seltzer. And the seltzer allure was that it had less calories, right? Oh, it's just water, right?
Hold on, now you keep saying the 30-year-olds. I'm part of that last generation that did a portion of their childhood without cell phones.
I have seen the demographics on this, by the way.
And I got the numbers in front of me.
We get a quarterly update on this, the state of the alcohol industry, basically. Anyway.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what's hurting beer in general is that craft beer had to expand and we're way off topic. Had to expand and do all of this flavor, things. They had to put out 10 new beers that all have different flavors because some guy isn't going to buy regular Budweiser anymore or Bud Light. He wants something that tastes like a mango. Well,
so this is where the advent of small batch came in. It started making certain flavors, certain things, selling them in certain regions, and only making them in limited quantities.
Right.
Because they're going to sell out, in Portland, but they're not going to sell out in Alabama because no one in Alabama gives a crap if it's an IPA.
It's a matter. It's regional, and it's a matter of the flavor and the taste and what you can offer that's different, and that's where it's going. Anyway. Organic beer.
I think this is important.
I don't know.
I think this is an important discussion to have. And if you tune in to our beer and taxes segment in a couple weeks.
Beer and taxes. Whoa, that sounds like an Al Capone special.
Beer and taxes.
I feel like we could have alcohol and taxes. That's what we'll call it, our Al Capone episode.
So you have the answer to that trivia question?
Maybe we'll call it the Untouchables. I don't. Yeah. So the question was, what is the record for largest winning margin in an NHL division at the end of the year? And do you have an answer for me, or do I have to look somewhere
else? So I'm going to go with the Penguins.
You're going to go with the Penguins, okay? How big?
And I'm going to go with the divisional lead being 30 points.
Okay, you're way off.
Is it much smaller than that?
It is much bigger than that.
What?
The 1976-77 and 1977-78 Montreal Canadiens, who you're seeing pictures of right now, both won the division by 51 points. It's no joke. 51 points. And the
I
1970.
see all the defensemen in the back have mustaches.
Well, I think everyone had a mustache just about, or long hair.
No,
or
everyone from row 2 down does not. Well, except for one guy on the left here. But just that back row
Those back
where you
rows are the
find all
cool
the
guys.
stashes.
Yeah, those are the cool guys. The 70s, the true 70s guys are back there.
I miss
But
those guys.
the 1976-77 team had 132 season points at the end of the year. They were 68 and 12. So they won 60 games, lost 8, and tied 12. That's a pretty good 80-game season. And you can see all the trophies in the front there. That was the 77-78 team. The black and white one is the 76-77. It's almost the same players. It's almost identical. That's why they were so good.
That brings up a question. When you take your team photo for the year, do you take it with the trophies from last year? I mean, they did, but do you?
Or is that at the end of the season with this year's trophy?
I'm going to tell you, I've never been a part of a team or an organization that takes an end of the year picture.
You didn't win a Stanley Cup either.
It's always at the beginning. Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay.
Yep, you're right. Yep.
I think by the way,
my titles are my trophy case is small.
I think by the way, in the color picture, those are superimposed. So that is the team photo. Look at it again. It's about to come up. That is the team photo, and these are superimposed trophies on it.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Okay, see, I'm not a crazy person. That's a stupid thing to do, is to slap all your trophies on the ice and say, check them out.
I mean, if you got them, I think
with
it's
that
fantastic.
mustache, that's the way you say that. Check it out.
That's right. I think you're right. Oh my gosh. That's all we have for today. We're going to be back next Wednesday, April 21st. Coverage, MLB, the NBA, the NHL, so much more, as you can see. We'll find another interesting topic to talk about next week, and I'm not sure what it is yet. I've got a couple of suggestions from fans. We may cover one of those and see what we can do, see what we can argue about. I think it was good to talk about the pay equality. It's topical. I don't know that it was helpful to anybody, but you can see what the pay, and you can see where the gap is and why they're complaining, and we get it. I think that we can all agree that something probably needs to be done, but I don't know what the answer is, because you can't make it equal. You'll never be able to make it equal unless
because the people making money have to do that.
They have to see it as equal.
Right.
Yeah. For that, if they're making the same amount, whether it's a man or a woman out there, they don't care. I mean, if you're making money off it, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. Anyway, if you're listening to the show, send me your questions, comments. It makes the show interesting. We can definitely talk about a topic if you have one, or you have an idea for something you want us to go in depth on. Or if you got a rules question, or you have a question about you make the call that we talked about earlier, send it. You can email us, lammsports@gmail.com, and let us know, or you can put it on Facebook. We'll find it. Anyway, Wednesday, April 28th, don't forget, is draft preview. And we have the mock draft with our top 10 picks. You won't want to miss Parker and I becoming the NFL general managers, owners for an hour. So, again, we're live streaming on YouTube every weekend. We're on Twitter @Lamm Sports, on Facebook under the Best Lamm Sports Show. Email us, lammsports@gmail.com. We want to thank our sponsors, The Range in Yakima, Boss Kitty Yarn, Steve & Stone Wine Estates in Hood River. This has been a Brain Rock production, a division of Lonely Street Media, LLC. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you all next week.